Mae o'n adeilad sy'n tynnu pobl yma o bob man o'r byd. A mae'n syndod mae pobl yn ffeindio lle bach fel hyn. Yn lle reit wledig. Ond dwi wedi cael plesar mawr yn fan hyn yn siarad efo pobl o bob man o'r byd. Mae'n dod i fan hyn fel bob plentyn o'r ardal yma, mae'n dod i'r hen eglwys am dro i weld y lle. Nes i symud i fyw i'r ardal i Llanfaglan, ac yn y cyfnod yna, nes i nabod y pobl oedd yn gwatsiad ar ôl yr eglwys adeg hynny. A dyna lle ges i'r cyfle 20 mlynedd yn ôl i gymryd drosodd gen y bobl yma i edrych ar ôl yr eglwys bach yma. So am hanes ar eglwys, ond nid yn unig y hanes ar eglwys, ond beth gynnon ni fan hyn ydy hanes ar iaith Gymraeg. Fel y garreg sydd uwch ben y drws yn fan hyn, sydd efo 2 enw Brythoneg yn ni. Un peth diddorol arall sy'n wrth gwrs ydy y maen bedydd sydd efo 7 ochr. Dwi yn bendant wedi dod draws 7 o'n nhw yng Nghymru, a mae hwn yn golygu'r 7 sacrament. Children used to come down here and play on the beach here. Looking back, I never thought I would be responsible for this building. It's a fascinating experience, and I'd recommend anybody to do something like this in a community. It's not only the pride of your community, the pride of your language, your country, that's Wales that is, showing this to the world. If we don't appreciate the history that we have on our own doorstep, we're very lucky here. We're just lucky. Yeah. Ooh.
We are a tiny charity. We were set up in 1957 to rescue, repair and reopen unwanted places of worship all across England and Wales. So we've been doing this for 66 years and we have saved 62 churches directly, and we've helped countless more over the years. So we wanted to commission this film because we wanted to celebrate our work in Wales and showcase just what we've done. We have 31 places of worship in Wales. We wanted to celebrate the buildings, the rescues that we've done, the people that help us to care for them, our volunteers, our contractors, our consultants, and really just to showcase some of their beauty. Some of them are so small and they're in unknown or little known places, and yeah, we want to put them back on the map.
Some of these places might have been forgotten about for many years. Some of them may be very, very dear to a lot of people's hearts. But they need people looking after them. That's why we wanted to make this film. We wanted to make a film about churches like St Baglan's or St Jerome's in Monmouthshire, with its incredible, intricately carved interior. We wanted to talk, through film, about the spiritual and artistic legacy physically left behind for us in the very craft, the structure here around us. About the people whose stories were connected to these buildings in the past. And about the people who, through their craftsmanship, volunteering and hard work are keeping those stories alive today. We're going to visit a number of these amazing churches and speak to the people involved in working on them, learn the stories, the history. There's one church, St Lawrence's, Gumfreston, that's in a bad condition, which we want to visit and see the work that's going on there. Before we head to Pembrokeshire though, we're heading north to Ynys Cynhaearn, Gwynedd, St Cynhaearns. This used to be an island in the middle of a lake. It's said that St Cynhaearn, a 7th century monk, rode out here after his father died at the hand of the Saxons and built his church. Most of what we see today, though, is from the early 19th century. In the north transept, which dates from 1622, you can see the pews painted with landowners' names. The gravestones here are special.
John Stimlin came from either Africa or the West Indies, where he would have been kidnapped along with others for the slave trade. There are stories about him recounting how he screamed for his mother and that he was literally ripped from her arms. And so you can imagine, as a little boy, probably about 8 years old, how awful that would have been. He was gifted to a family in Wales who sort of saw him as a little project, really, to civilise him. They quickly saw that he was intelligent and skillful, and growing up he not only became fluent in English and Welsh, but became a very proficient gardener. Although most people in his community had never seen a black person before, that overall that's how he was seen, as this handsome, capable man. He left his job as a gardener with the wind and literally ran away to get married. He eloped with Margaret Griffith, and they got married in Dolgellau. People think that black people really only came to Wales, with Windrush, but actually it goes back further than that. It becomes a story that, as Welsh people, we can be proud of. That's why I think the fact that the Friends of the Friendless Church have not let his legacy be forgotten either, I think is absolutely beautiful.
We've arranged to visit St Lawrence's in Gumfreston. That's the church that's really in a bad way, the day after tomorrow. So that'll be the last place we visit. We have another long drive before that though, even further north to Anglesey.
I'm from North Wales originally, and I knew I wanted to be an artist, so I studied sculpture. And I was so wanting to make sculpture and make artwork, but I wasn't actually being taught. I was at the time in art schools where everything was very conceptual, and I just wanted to learn how to make things. And I got so fed up, I left. And I just happened upon a building site. And there I was so lucky because I was working with proper craftsmen and I was being taught how to use my hands properly for the first time. And I just fell in love with lime as a material. From the first moment, I loved it. This old font, I mean, I know you look at the stone and you think, well, it's a local stone, it's a local sandstone. It looks, in some ways, it looks quite crude, but it's not. It's carved into something quite a coarse stone, so it's something which is quite difficult to do. And then you think, well, okay, this was done, say, 1050, I don't know, for argument's sake, and that's pre-Norman. So what tools did they have available at that time, and where did that stone come from, and how did they get it here? And was it an altar? How did it start life? What was its reason for being made in the first place? From a point of view of surviving, it's amazing to think that this piece of stone that is carved in a church that was remained open, so people have been in and out for hundreds and hundreds of years, and it stayed intact, pretty much undamaged. So that's really quite incredible, I think, for something that old to have survived for that long. So you realise that you're working in the footsteps of so many fantastic, creative craftspeople. It never gets stale. It always feels quite worthwhile. We are continuing something that throughout generations, throughout history, okay, it was built in the first place, but people have been back and forth all those years since, up until now, keeping this place dry, warm, in good nick. It is interesting when you think about what these buildings were actually designed for. So there's a sort of ceremony or marriage or funerals. And that's when it does really hit home, is when you're working in a building like this and then there's a funeral. They are relics in history, I suppose, but they still serve a purpose in today's world, and people still use it for that purpose. I like that we do a lot of work that people don't see. We are part of a collective that isn't about an individual, it's about all of us working together. Now that's just us right now, but previously as well, and people in the future. The precedent is there, and it's down to us. It's not often the material that fails, it's us that fails the material, so that's what we've got to bear in mind.
It was a favourite place of my dad, who was an artist and drew it and painted it from time to time as well. I've been very fortunate to work on hundreds of different churches, but this one has a very particular place for me. I think it's so special for its historic importance. I mean, it feels so ancient when you come inside. The importance of some of these ancient religious sites is often overlooked in our kind of fast-paced life, but I think their permanence speaks to us. I think it's so important we have places where we can go to have peace and actually to engage with history, to engage with the huge number of generations that have loved and enjoyed this place over time. It's so secluded. It feels like it's a special hidden gem. But also I feel a sense of mystery here. There's a feeling that not everything is revealed as you enter. So for me, when I'm sitting and drawing, and it forces me to look in a much deeper way than I would ordinarily visiting a building or taking photographs. The painting's actually an assemblage. It was exploring my ideas about the place and how the building and the landscape are so interrelated, and trying to convey some of the importance of the interior and the exterior at the same time. So this is actually a composition which includes the wells outside, shadows from the trees, and it also includes part of the interior of the church, to try and convey my feelings about its condition as well, and its importance. I hope in some way that people may be able to see and value the building more through this work. As I get through my career, I realise that actually the emotional attachment for me and also for other people is really what's going to drive the future of these buildings. We can't just do it on technical grounds. People need to really feel motivated emotionally.
It's surprising how quickly a structure can deteriorate. I mean, we're talking, a couple of decades potentially before this would be sort of a ruin. One thing that really struck me whilst I've been working or involved in this church is the number of visitors it has. The number of people who were married, christened, who've got relatives who've been buried in the graveyard. So it's still such an important building to the community. Inside there are some really exciting medieval wall paintings that are just starting to be uncovered. There aren't any new medieval wall paintings being made, so obviously there are things that are vanishing, year on year. This church is at tipping point. It's still at a stage where we can save it. If we let this church go for another 5 or 10 years without any sort of love and attention paid to it, then the things that are important and significant about it will be lost. I want to sort of retain it, but also I want to be able to look back and say that I've been a part of that as well. If I could bring my children here in 20 or 30 years' time and say, well, maybe without me or maybe without the help of this group of people now, this church might not still be here.
I think it is really important that we help make these connections and just spark a little bit of interest, because everyone has got somewhere that they will have an interest in or a connection with. It's just finding that little piece of information that makes them go, I like that.
Dwi bod mewn sawl llefydd hanesyddol a dach cael rhyw deimlad, waw, mae fama'n arbennig ynde. A dyna sy'n ei disgrifio fel orau.
I think the fact that the Friends are preserving this story and others like it is immensely important. I think the work they do is amazing. I think it's wonderful.
You're in a continuum. You're looking after this for a very short period, and to pass it on in better condition than perhaps you found it in, it's a gift to future generations.
I think the wonderful thing about the Friends is that they look after the building regardless of what their future purpose might be, and to make them accessible and open for everybody.